that. Sometimes it takes a bit.
No, it's not there. Oh, there it is. Why isn't it on the headline? Oh, I guess it never is, huh? I just skip down to it usually.
There, I
Yeah,
finally got the thing.
yeah.
Oh, that's not a good title, baby. Well, just because that. Will you turn your volume off?
All right, well, it's, I guess whatever it's worth.
It just looks like a different word, and I don't think you maybe thought about that.
Which word?
I don't want to say it
Oh,
unless you mute.
oh, S, the word S?
No,
No.
you have
Uh,
to mute the chat. I'm not saying it out loud.
okay, wait a second.
Or not mute, but mute the
So, should I
volume, I
start it
mean.
over, babe? I mean, because I can just start it over.
No, I don't think it's necessary.
I don't know which word it is.
Let's just drop it, okay?
Huh? One person
Ooh,
watching, three
yikes.
people watching. Hello, old school Dave.
Hello, old school Dave.
And, oh, old school Dave says, I got a good giggle out of the 18 minutes, Miss Kathy. That little one you did, right? The,
No, of the missing. We didn't realize that you had not.
oh, no, right, we weren't broadcasting anymore.
Yeah.
Yeah, I apologize for that. I'm going to try to keep closer watch on, I guess, that part of the screen that I can, so that doesn't happen. Okay. Oh, I didn't pop out the chat yet. Oh, yes, I did. There it is. Okay. See, even that, I'm trying to keep part of the screen on there that tells me that it's still working. I don't know what part of the screen that is.
I I would. I don't know.
Yeah.
Sorry.
I guess I just gotta see if I'm moving around, maybe. All right. So that's good enough for that.
Yeah, that's what we were like. Is there some kind of alarm that can be sounded?
Yeah, right.
Um,
Well,
I
I'm
usually
not
keep your
ready to.
stream up. Happens to the best of, buddy. Don't sweat it. You know what, old school Dave? It's funny that you bring up sweat because I am sweating a lot
Oh
while I
gosh.
have hot flashes. Yay! But the positive of that is that I am sweating out all of the toxins.
That you accumulated over your 50 plus years.
Shut up. I've been like basically fasting every day for 16 hours. Or
Yeah,
wait, is it 18 hours?
and before I met you, you were doing that too with your
Yeah,
liquid
so
diet.
I got a lot of toxins to get out
Yeah.
just every day.
Um,
Woohoo! Bugs getting zapped. Flying gnats, I don't consider them lives.
the hierarchy of the bug kingdom.
Sorry. If the spiders would step it up and do their job, then we wouldn't have had to busted out the gnat zapper.
Okay, so
What translation of the Bible do you read? Nine asks.
well, right now,
What version do you have up there?
yeah, it's not the one that it's not the best version of the Bible that I'm aware of, but it's a King James because I got it for free, and it was called Free Bible, and they had a Strong's Concordance associated with it, so I could get the Greek and I think Hebrew. Yeah, I think we could get the Aramaic too in that part of it. Um, Hebrew Aramaic. So that was good with that little application, and you could do plenty of searches and everything with it.
Yeah,
But
it's served you really well.
yeah, but actually, the translations that I liked the best were the ones that provided alternative ways of translating terms. So like the Amplified was one, and my experience with those are from when Doe decided that we might go public again, and he didn't know exactly how, so he felt like maybe we should get up to speed on what the Christian community are talking about and doing. And because we weren't focused on that at all for those 10 years before that or so. But anyway, so that's when that was like 1997 when he went out and bought
1997?
yeah 1987 or 86 or 87 when he bought a Dake's Bible or several Dake's Bibles, which I think came from a relationship to Arnold Murray, Pastor Murray's work in out of Arkansas maybe area, which Doe was attracted to the way he was talking because he seemed to have a lot of really good perspectives that felt right to Doe in some ways. Not that everything he said was of value, but we watched him on satellite dish talk. Anyway, so that was the Dake's Bible, and then there was the
How do you spell that? I'm sorry.
Dake.
Dake?
Yes,
Oh, like
but
Drake,
it was
but
said
without
as
the
plural though. Dakes.
R. Okay.
I think that's the apostrophe S maybe. I'm not sure
Uh,
exactly that part.
well, I think it'd be easy to find.
Or maybe it was
knowing.
just an S. But so another Bible that he brought in was the Parallel, which had King James New Revised Edition
Oh,
and probably some international one, and like four pretty much the same kind of thing with the Revised Standard. And then another one he brought in was the Companion Bible, which had a lot of research in it. So it had all kinds of columns on the sides of the scripture that gave you references to other ways that word was used and even some translations into Greek and an appendix in the back that had a lot of good information in it, like as a like for history and all kinds of things. So that was considered to be a study Bible, the companion. So I enjoyed using that in the classroom during that period of time that we were doing that. And there were several others.
Did you say the Amplified?
Amplified, yeah. And actually, the Amplified you can see in the back of the Heaven's Gate book. Uh, um, that's I believe that's the back of the book that's talked about as in Revelation 5, I think it is. Because there's two books. Anyway, I'm not going to get into that. But right now. And I think my book is a continuation of that. Because it didn't come directly from T&O. It's coming from me as to whatever degree I'm able to come up with translations that Doe might come up with, which I don't always know, of course. Anyway, that's another whole story. But I chose to use the King James version in my book because whenever I quoted, because it doesn't have any kind of copyright associated with it, so it's free, public domain, and I didn't want to get accused of anything by anybody, and I knew of individuals that might accuse me of doing stuff.
Anyway,
That's another
there's
subject.
There's Dead Skin Mask is here.
Okay.
Comment.
Dead Skin Mask says, for once I finally made it on at the beginning of a stream. Oh, that's cool. Dead Skin Mask 999. Is that like from Zombies? Where they were putting the zombies on their faces so they would blend in with the zombies?
That was good.
Yeah, that was good. That was pretty...
I feel like that started out really good, but then I don't know, they kind of messed it up, but still, that was good. It was good in the comics.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway.
Oh, yeah, I never read it in the comics.
I have the compendiums. I can never say that word.
So, 9 says, wow, interesting. Yeah, and
Welcome,
it's really...
Dead Skin Mask 999. Welcome.
Welcome, yes.
You didn't read their comment.
Oh, I didn't read it, sorry. For once I finally made it. Yes, I did.
Oh.
I did read it.
Oh my gosh. My brain is... We had a lot of thinking done today.
That's true. We've had a very interesting week. Right? I mean...
Yeah, but...
Anyway, yeah, and of course, we didn't name this, well, I came up with the title of this stream, and I didn't, I'm not going to read it, but it's T&O's overview of what's happening in the world that they were well aware of, has been, ever since, I don't know when they woke up to it. They were waking up to it probably when they were in human vehicles, without much of their next level mind coming into those vehicles. And so we're watching play out the way that, and people are becoming aware of this, that this is all like it's orchestrated. It's like staged. But the way that it's staged, I think, is like what T&O talked about as the holodeck. So it's not like things aren't happening that are real, but it's even a biological holodeck that we're in. So it's interesting when I was hearing somebody on one of the shows I watch um, on YouTube. I've been watching for a long time. Talk about how this isn't real. That was their opening to, and they were comparing this war. It's a war. Well, I don't care what you call it. When you're dropping bombs on another country, you're
Yeah.
at war with them.
Yeah. Yeah. What the fuck? Oh,
so,
goodness.
so comparing it with the way that the Iraq War was instigated through the 9/11 event, which I'm not supposed to, I guess, say that word.
Well, I think there's going to be a lot more shit
A
to
lot of
hit the
people are
fan
going to be
in
talking
the
about
next
that.
few days,
Yeah,
so
yeah,
I
right.
think it's okay.
We'll probably blend in with the rest.
Yeah, for now it may
Because
be.
actually, that's part of what's happening
Oh,
is
Lord.
is what was the opposition to the current administration is now on board with the current administration for the most part. A few voices are clinging to their ideals, anti-warness, and I think that's great because that's there's nothing pro about the wars except to the degree that from the next level's perspective, it puts everybody to the test of where their heads are at, what they believe in, what they want to put their trust in, what they want to put their life, give their life to. It's not about believing in something. It's about who you're actually believing in. That's important because just believing in something is it won't last. And maybe it's something to try. Maybe it gets you in the door to want to believe in something. Maybe that desire to believe in something is like the quest of a human being that recognizes even in their genetic code, to their deep subconscious, that there's something more than this place, and so they are on a quest for it in their minds, and of course, then throughout life, it's probably easier to cling on to certain quests, um, and try them out. Play with it. I mean, not play with it, but you want to be that, like Kathy
Play
was
it
talking
out.
about. Yeah, you want
Maybe
to play
is
it
what you
out,
meant to
like
say.
Kathy did with growing up with a certain amount of Christian exposure. That was very.
I am a seeker, a true seeker, I think, and I
Mm-hmm.
always like of knowledge and information
Mm-hmm.
and love and creation, God, all that, like I wanted to, and I still want to learn everything, but I really wanted to connect with the ultimate.
Yeah. Well. Uh, yeah, and Kathy and I have been very, very fortunate. Uh, we don't say that. I know it sounds goofy to say that, like the Christians say it.
I
And
don't even care anymore.
not that Christians can't be also blessed in different ways. Like anybody can be blessed in different ways. Atheists can be blessed in different ways,
Yeah.
and that's on. I mean, New Agers. It's
Saying blessed doesn't mean
blessed.
religious.
Blessed means the next level is giving them lessons
Why did I put 86?
and giving them opportunities to ask for help. And if we just trust in ourselves and other humans entirely, then, or at first, and to what degree, then,
Trusting in yourself is really easy.
yeah, trusting in yourself and is really easy to do. And especially when you have a bunch of money, then when you have a problem, you can pay to trust somebody that knows how to deal with that problem, but if you don't have money, then, and you can see this is where the poor come in to being the ones that are more blessed in some ways, because then they're going to have to find alternatives to solve their problems.
Yeah.
they're not going to just be able to fall back on another loan or you know some money they have stashed away, but and so they and so they
Can't
by their
sell.
asking to get solutions to their problems in their minds, they're concerned with that. Uh, the next level determines whether that individual's asking is significant enough or powerful enough or strong enough. And I'm not saying that the criteria is like off the charts. I think that they have a very fair criteria for determining who is really asking for something of value. Because just asking for, I want to get a better Mercedes or something, you know, the next level may help you get some nice things by sending you influences to give you those things because the next level doesn't give you those things. But they want you to have sometimes nice things, but they don't want you to want them. And so when you get them, and then the next level automatically as part of the human kingdom, things get taken away from us, even our lives. Right? We have a temporary life system, and so the whole thing is set up to help us reach for something that's better or something that's greater, and not be afraid of getting rid of the things that are holding us back and that have all the different holding us back, but also presenting us with the opportunity to raise our minds stronger, bring in, ask for the help of the next level as well on how to, conquer our demons or the discarnates that and the thought forms that are surrounding all of us all the time. I'm not saying the demons are around us all the time, but I think they pick. I'm talking about the fallen angel souls, the Luciferian space alien souls. I think they pick who to put their energy into because they have physical vehicles that they're operating on their spacecrafts, and they've got limitations.
They need energy. They need food too.
They need energy. They need their own kind of food, right, for the vehicles that they.
Which seems to be us, our fear and
Oh yeah, I remember first reading about that, about uh, them thriving on our fear. But
our false belief in them. Like when
yeah, because
you're,
it boosts your ego.
it gives them power.
And
I
look at
think I could be very wrong about
yeah,
that,
well
but
look at the politicians now that are all kind of joining together, Democrats and Republicans, for the most part, in support of having regime change in Iran.
which is probably a really good thing for, well, every pretty much every single woman in in that country.
It
I
could
don't
be, I think,
think there's probably many women around that want to live with the fear of, being stoned alive. Well, I mean, they stone you till you're dead for like sleeping with somebody not other than your husband.
right.
Like, oh my god, getting thrown off of a roof because you're gay. That does not seem like a good
Getting
way.
burned
Yeah,
because you're going against a doctrine or
right. Blasphemy. Here's,
uh,
like that does
I don't have
not
an example of that one in my head of
seem
what,
like a
no,
good.
but they
I
talked
don't
about
know.
that.
I'm just saying that does not seem like a good way to live.
Right.
So
So
that, that regime, I think, yeah.
no, go ahead.
No, I'm not.
All right. So that doesn't mean that the next level wants that to happen. The way it works, from our understanding from Tiendo, is that the next level knows that when they pull away a little bit, whatever that distance is, doesn't matter. That goodness that they have diminishes around us, literally. And so that allows the badness in the world to have a chance to express itself more through the vehicles. And so and so it goes right down from the beginning. Probably all the creatures on planet Earth are probably experiencing this in some degree. I mean, even the plants and the animals and everything, I imagine, uh, have some kind of relationship. That's all technical, by the way. There's nothing. None of this is supernatural, except for the degree of natural things that we have come to understand are natural. But we don't know all the things that we don't understand are natural yet, because the next level hasn't given it to us yet, except in degrees and different ways that are not that easy to wrap your head around believing in all the time, unless you're on a quest to understand things. And to be honest with you, that quest will take a lot of people into different things, uh, but a lot of them are going to be dead ends. I'm not to say which ones are and what kind of a dead end it is, because even a dead end can end up being a stepping stone to growing faster. Because sometimes, because if we're following a dead end, then the amount of mind that it takes to break out of it uh, um, is greater. It's like somebody. Let's say they're on uh, they're addicted to substances. Okay, I mean in a serious way, and they for a long time they can't even imagine not doing it anymore, even though maybe every time they do it they regret doing it, but they still keep doing it, and I understand that, but but at some point they can get to the place to where they think I need to get help with this. I need I want to stop this behavior, and so that actually is drawing the next level attention to the situation, and then they'll also by coming to that choice, they're also opening themselves up to wanting to ask for help of their friends and family, or the government, or whatever they can get help with to try to overcome their addictions. So so that way, everybody is always having the opportunity to grow, because there's a number of addictions. Okay, including power, including having all these people
Probably the
looking up
worst
to you.
one. Yeah, that's probably
Yeah,
the hardest.
might be the hardest one. Yeah, because it's all about yourself. If you think that you have the authority to shape the world, you've got a pretty big demon on you that's helping you with that. There's space alien souls that are helping individuals in those
Generals.
positions,
Yeah.
generals. Yeah,
They're not just the piddly, ones that we're dealing with on the daily.
right,
They're the big kahunas.
right. Anybody that, according to Tiendo, anybody that has a lot of influence over humans is potentially being used by the space alien souls to for their different aspects of their agenda.
Which is to keep people away from the next level.
Exactly. That's what the agenda of the space aliens is. And to satisfy the things that they want, with one of them which is uh, to get off this planet. Because rumor has it, the way that Doe said it, rumor has it that they're going to be recycled. And so those that dropped away from the next level, having had elementary school membership for a period of time, um, uh, 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 they had many opportunities to change, but if they don't change, it's because they've decided not to change. It's not because the next level doesn't have to condemn anybody. They just end up being present when the recycling takes place and degrees of recycling, wherever that looks like in the technical ends of it. Cataclysm. We've been hearing all about that, right, for a long time. Doomsday events, with the. Um, but so this is the War of Armageddon has its duplicate
And
in
it starts in the Middle East.
in the human kingdom. It's a war for souls, though. That means because that's the product the next level considers to be fruit.
It's 6 o'clock, but I didn't start eating until 1, so I am going to eat a little bit more.
Okay, what are you going to go for?
A bowl of cereal.
Oh, well, I already
A
had
half
my
cup.
mash today,
A half cup of
so I don't know what I'll have as a snack.
Cheerios. I
But
already had the banana and yogurt.
so
I don't feel bad about having that.
if individuals really want to get an overview, go to T and Do's information. Um, and it's on the Heaven's Gate website still. The book is still posted there. You can download the book for free. You're going to get a lot, and you're not gonna. You don't have to be. Well, I mean, you can let the influences speak that would have you fearful. But right in that website it says our position against suicide means that what it says that they had a position against suicide for humans. And if any of us think that we're not humans, I think you might have a little bit of an illusion there, even though you might be the result of some hybridization that took place. If you happen to have a mother that was taken on board a spacecraft and implanted with some kind of seed. Well, I know there are individuals that have that kind of experience. I've spoken to a number, not a lot.
All the cereal things in one, okay?
Yeah, so yeah, to some degree it's a little off, but so 9 says, what should we put our belief in?
Well, you forgot to read that skin mask.
Oh yeah, okay, sorry.
You explain their name.
I did read it though.
That it was the name of a band.
For once, oh, he's explaining it. Oh, I'm sorry. Okay, yeah, that part. So, Dead Skin Mask says, the name is originally from an old heavy metal song from the band Slayer. I'd like to change my screen name on here, but I'm not sure how to do it, laughing out loud. I've had to stop being stubborn and learn to ask for and accept help. Well, yeah, you don't have to. I don't think we have any judgment of someone's name in case that you think that might bother us. But I mean, unless it's. I mean, there's your name doesn't do anything. Doesn't have any negativity to it in my mind.
He's saying. I think they're saying that they're just saying it's hard for them to ask anybody for help.
Oh
In
yeah,
general.
yeah. I was just talking about the name of
Oh, because they said
changing the screen name.
yeah.
Anyway, so
The only thing you can do is just make another account.
yeah, maybe you can make it just another account, but maybe you don't want to do that. Anyway, I think you can have more than one account, right?
I'm not sure.
Oh, maybe not anymore.
I
If you can I don't want to talk about tricking them, but there's probably ways to do it.
Oh, you can have more than one account. I don't know why I
Oh, okay. Because we do, right? Yeah, that's right. So yeah, so Skin Mask says I've had to stop being stubborn and learn to ask for help and accept help. Yeah, that's a really good thing, I think. Because I have that tendency also to either I'm trusting in myself too much to some degree. I know people teach this, and they almost make it sound like if you don't trust in yourself 100%, the only person you trust in a sense, that you won't grow or something. You won't actually become the God within. I mean, some people probably don't connect it that way, but uh, it's kind of along those lines that self, everything is within us. They gravitate towards that piece of scripture that says, Jesus says, what is God? And he says, God is spirit, and God is within you, not without you. And it's actually not a very good translation of those words, and I did tackle that in my book. But I don't know if I'm going to go through that right now, but because I want to get on to other things. But because it does have to come, I do have to say a little bit more about it. It does have to come from within you to ask for help from outside you. So the help comes from outside you. Not that you can't have some of the help already in your computer, in your database, in your genetic, environmental, societal mind that's developed. You can. You study a subject and you learn how to do it. You learn certain foods to stay away from, and and as your vehicle breaks down, which I think they all probably do in this kingdom, although it doesn't necessarily have to be that way. That's another whole discussion. But um, uh, part of what we're learning is that we can know certain things, and but we also have to learn to recognize the things that we don't know, and and if we know where to go for the help to know what we don't know, which is the next level, um, then we won't grow in the same way or the same rate as you know uh, because we're not getting the attention of the gardeners. We're not getting the attention of the lab crew that is monitoring humans to see whether they're seeking to grow. It's like a blade of grass. They grow at different rates, I guess, if you can actually examine each one. Just like the fingerprints are original. There's like can't imagine it, but it seems to be the case that within a variance of who knows how much time and space, uh, they're all different in their growth, and so human kingdom is like that too. To where people are popping their head up a little bit here and there, and they have an awakening of some sort. They got a revelation of some sort. Something that was they feel it was revealed to them to understand, which is that's what the whole Revelation book is about. The revealing of the next level's mind in our society, and how it's gonna, because of the lower forces being here, the next level is gonna monitor and work with keeping the lower forces at bay enough with their goodness, with their energy, with their literal mind thoughts that are powerful, much more powerful than human thoughts. They are actually keeping away the influences that would uh, otherwise lead to destruction of the human kingdom. if they didn't let that if they didn't continue to regulate. Now I don't know, the mechanics of that and the timing of that or anything about how they actually do it, except for the ways that I just described it, which are technical. I mean, you could boil them down to frequencies. They have radio communications with humans, radio waves, uh, but it's not part of the radio spectrum that humans can understand yet. As that's some of the evidence of Tiando's mind, that when they say things like that, which they don't make speeches about that, but you hear that coming out in the tapes, um, it answers a whole bunch of questions that we don't even know how to necessarily ask yet. Um, when we pull on it, when we pull on the ideas that they give us. And I know I'm getting off the track, but that's what I do. I just go down these avenues. But so so what's happening in the world is putting everybody to the test of what are you made out of? What are you going to reach for? Reach for the formula is to reach for the highest source you can imagine existing, that in the heavens, in the distant heavens, actually literally in deep space, because even thinking about that as on the earth might not be a strong enough signal for the next level to uh, pay attention to, because the space aliens have a certain amount of, and the discarnate world and the thoughts in this world are basically like taking up all the space. And so you can send out a thought of asking for something. You could say, Jesus, give me this, and Jesus, I want to do this, and uh, God help me with this, and God is giving me indications of help in this way, and but it doesn't mean it's going to the chief of chiefs, through the membership. Um, they're older members and younger members that are growing to become older members by having uh, souls grow in the human kingdom to becoming their own being from a seed of a soul, which Stephen Doe talked about as a deposit of a computer chip, a physical plasma-like container that holds a pillowcase, or that holds mind. And there's two kinds of mind. There's misinformation mind and there's true information mind. The only true information comes from the next level, even though uh, there's a bunch of that mind in the human kingdom, okay, throughout our genes and everything. But the misinformation mind is what removes us from seeing the value of the true mind, and fully understanding it and letting it and going with it, trying to let it take you. I mean, by giving service, wanting to be of service, and not wanting yourself to be involved. Say, okay, self, I'm not going to be a self anymore. I mean, I'm not saying people have to say those words. The next level knows how to tell when you want something more than yourself, depending on how much you want it and how much you reach for it, and you go after it. And that's happening now. It's not over. As long as the next level mind is here, um, representatives, and that might be, as long as their tapes are available and the videotapes and the book, and then those with experience too, and then people with new experience that weren't with Tiendo but have access to the same teachings and can and then are part of the same family, and it's all in degrees. And anybody that starts to judge you for anything that you well, people that judge you are trying to put you down. That's part of dealing with the lower forces that don't want to give any credit to a vessel that's trying to bring in more of the truth of the reality of this human kingdom and the life forms on it. And and that doesn't mean that, see, if you're really hooking in to that mind, which is a continuous thing, it's not something you can do and then all of a sudden you're going to do it all the time. Or you're going to do it at all. You can choose not to do it at all, even though you're in the classroom, and for as long as I was, and I left, and I didn't want to hook into it, back into it for 2.5 years. And before they left, and that was an opportunity to reconnect. And I'm thankful that I had enough mind in this vehicle that I hadn't lost in those 2.5 years to know that they were telling the truth. That was everything that all the religions would say that they are worshiping towards. Some kind of a nirvana or some kind of, because the next level is where nirvana is found. Not on the kingdom of earth. There was no nirvana here. And there's no nirvana in the spirit world.
Atheists would like to know, what can they see that they can't see?
What can members of the next level see that they can't see?
They think the end time's happening now. Oh wait, those Christians are so delusional. There never was a God. Atheist says.
I don't agree with that. But it's how you define the God. So there never was a God that was like a gray bearded man sitting in a cloud. Okay, so if that's your idea of God,
There was.
you think in one civilization he came with a beard?
Who knows?
Well, maybe during the Jesus time, maybe he did have a beard.
Or
I don't
there's
know.
a
He had a
space
beard.
alien masquerading as that.
Right, or a space alien,
Could
or
be considered as gods because they're
or a hologram experience.
smarter than humans.
But see, that wouldn't be the next level, because the next level doesn't do things with illusion. They come in a way that is undercover. In other words, they look like us when they're actually a very advanced being, literal mind, just like we're minds. But their minds have overcome all the human characteristics. So they don't bother themselves with. They're not mammals, so they don't reproduce. They don't, they don't have to eat much. If they have to eat a little bit, it might be like a pill they take every once in a while that gives that type of vehicle enough nutrition to be able to continue on with being the tool it needs to be in order to do tasks on spacecrafts and labs. There's no religious talk in the next level because it's real. Everything's real. So even, using the term God, I agree with the atheist, is in many cases probably meaningless. But I can't say that in all cases that's the case because I'm not the one that created this kingdom. If I created this kingdom and all life forms on it, then I would know, I would be able to read an individual to know where their heart is. And they could say they're an atheist, but they may get the attention of the next level if the next and the next level can give them ideas that can help them, because there's a value to coming away from the religions, because the religions are distorted and diluted and they're used and abused. So I mean, if you actually took a list of all the things Jesus said, and then you were able to like track all the sermons that
Or
people,
actually the actions of what people are doing.
and the actions, but it's the sermons as well and the actions as well, and you compared them, you would see very little talk about what Jesus actually said, and especially the things that were too challenging to deal with. Um, you won't hear those ever talked about, hardly ever. And if you do, you'll be considered an extremist. And even though you'll be considered an extremist when you take to an extreme certain things that were taught, and I could go through a whole lot of things regarding this because I spent 10 years studying those records, uh, and looking for the ways that I could help people um, uh, recognize that all they were asking for and were expecting is coming to fruition. It comes to fruition in stages for everybody, potentially at different points. And it's not that important what point anyone gets to where they can start to take off to grow a lot faster. And that's gonna happen by the more and more they dig into Tiando's teachings, and then they're gonna want to share it with others. The more they learn about it, and it doesn't get less unless the cares of the world, or like Jesus outlined, take place, which they do. But then the person may still go through something in the human kingdom to where they aren't trying to um, uh, learn more about the next level and all that entails. But then they might come back to it every time something happens in the world that stimulates desire for help. And it's a mental battle. Kathy was bringing this up earlier. That it's the mind, but it's also physical. But it's our minds that are going through, looking at the events that have been happening and recognizing the handwriting on the wall. Okay, and that's not doomsdayish. That's just learning and not fearing, because there's no reason to fear it. Not that fear can't be a good motivation sometimes to do the right thing, or to do something higher, meaning the right thing, meaning something that can actually lead to graduating out of the human kingdom and evolving into a next level futuristic being that has technical capacity way beyond anything humans have. We can already be the best we can be. But atheists, how can that be true? How can you already be the best we can be? Isn't the idea of being the best, isn't that a moving target? Can you give me any examples in life to where somebody is the best they can be at it? They can become very good at it. But they don't know that they're the best they can be if they don't know certain things about that field that they went into.
Well, you can always learn more.
Right, you can always learn more. And if you don't think that's true, then
You've got a lot to learn.
yeah, I think you do have a lot to learn. Well, it doesn't have to be a lot. It can be just a switch. It doesn't have to be a lot. It can be just right. It can be. So it's not like you're not an intelligent person if you don't understand that, because we all have things that don't occur to us as true, as real, until someone else brings it to us and we're willing to listen to it. So, like, I mean, if people in the chat are saying things all the time that I'm being woken up to in some ways, to how other people can be looking at what T and O are teaching. Yeah, and Kathy and I, we argue all the time about stuff, and I think we're learning how to argue and not get emotionally too affected by it. To where we have a big recovery period, like I feel like I have. Yeah, but whatever, it's but see, that's part of a next level mind has a very short recovery process. When they recognize that they've done something that was lesser than they wanted, they said something that was lesser than they would prefer to say um, to somebody, or do something that they determined wasn't the best action to take, and they're willing to, and they've had some kind of a conflict with somebody else over it, and when they get to the place to where they take on the other person's point of view as best they can understand it, enough to think that there might be some truth in what that person is saying, and that they are in the growth process at that moment on that subject, on that, but in an overall perspective also, because that's the quickest path to learning more. Is taking the circumstances that happen around us, the events that happen around us, the way that people are talking around us, and when people are disagreeing with us, that becomes a big opportunity to, well, maybe I can look at that a little differently.
Little camper coming back.
Oh yeah. Oh really? The one that was here before?
No, I don't think. I'm not sure.
Oh, that'd be interesting.
They got to stay out 7 days, so somebody else. But surprised somebody didn't take that spot.
Yeah, really, huh? I was thinking the other day that maybe people would just rather stay home when they have to run the air conditioner all the time just to break even. Even if they're in a shady spot.
Well, we've been doing all right today.
True, true.
I have it set at 80.
I was only hot when I was working on washing dishes,
Yeah.
and so I'm a little warm now though. I'm sweating a little bit.
Came on.
Yeah, right. Not that it's wrong to, it's good to sweat sometimes, of course, but
Yeah, I have a feeling they're gonna take the spot next to us.
okay.
A little Coleman camper. If they were smart, they would. And actually, I'd like them to because then they won't block all our view. No, don't leave.
Hi. Yeah. Right. So, as an atheist, I want to add a little something to what you said, that there never was a God. So I hope I'm trying to maybe you're not saying all you're thinking about that, but of course, but um, there.
No, come back over here with your little tiny camper.
I guess my logic on that is that there's too much here that humans don't know how to do. So the idea that there aren't beings that exist in this vast universe that even design planets and life forms through through an experiential path that some people are picking up on and would say, it's the fish from the sea are gonna develop their fins into some kind of legs that can crawl, and they're gonna crawl out of the sea. And I'm not saying that that's not possible. That's possible, but there's going to be a lot of steps to that are going to have to be cultivated. Um, if it could actually evolve from that into human beings and all of the different life forms in the whole pathway on its own, then how did it get to be in the first place? I don't know. It's maybe some people would say that's circular logic, but uh, I mean, we die. We can't explain what happens after that. Maybe nothing. Okay. Maybe for some people it is nothing. Maybe for some people it's they become aware that there's a mind associated with them. Or maybe they don't even become aware of that. They just exist in mind form, and and can detect in their ways uh, uh, life forms that uh, seem to be that they can get vibrations from, they can take the energy from, and they can feel some satisfaction from that. They're feeding on us, like Kathy was talking about before the stream. And when she said that, it reminded me of when we were getting this newsletter from Nevada. I think the newsletter was coming from California, maybe, or Utah or somewhere. But it was just like a bunch of 9.5 by 11 size pieces of paper printed on both sides with, I don't even know if it had a cardboard cover. It was bound on a plastic comb, and people were, mailing away for it. And so Doug found it advertised in some Omni magazine or something. I don't know what magazine it was, but maybe it was the UFO Universe magazine or something. And so he had it come to us, and in it we were reading it on a regular basis. It had all kinds of things about UFOs in it and stuff, and underground cities and tunnels and all that going throughout the United States. But anyway, one of the things that it talked about was that there were these beings that were sapping our energy. And Doe felt like, years before that, they knew that uh, um, that there were discarnate minds. That one evidence of being minds outside your body is dreaming. And then other people, have experiences where they've traveled in their minds, and they used to call it in the old days traveling in the astral. But they can remember, like flying over something. And I used to have flying dreams of I was flying, playing basketball, and I would feel like I was gonna coming down, hit the bottom of the court, and I would feel like my mind was pulling myself up, and then I would be, doing, stuffing the basketball. I always wanted to stuff the basketball, but I was only 5'8.5" at my highest, my tallest, and I couldn't jump that high to do that. So it was always like a fun thing to do, of course. I don't know if that's what stimulated the dreams, but because I wanted to learn how to like jump up and sail to the basket, the way you do when you do a layup. And in this case, I just didn't come down, and I would zip around the court, and pulling myself up when I was going to crash. So to me, that was like experiencing some kind of astral traveling. I don't know if it officially could be called that, but what difference does it make? It was where my mind was at, and I've had a lot of dreams since leaving the group. And there's different types of dreams you can have that have more sense of reality in them. than others. I know Kathy's experienced those kind of dreams too, and a lot of people have. And some people don't know it yet. It doesn't mean that you're lesser or anything. It just means that there's certain things you haven't experienced. Because I don't think of the dreams that I have as because I earned them somehow. I think it's because I needed that help to not be asleep after I left the group, and I fell asleep in theoretic, in my quest for mind, for more understanding, for more of what T and O were teaching. And now that, you know, and when I got past that hump, and I was thinking, I don't want to ask for service again, because that means I'm gonna have to leave my family behind and everything. That's the way I was thinking. And I had a daughter, and so, but then I heard the voice come back and say, no, that's not necessary right now. Now, I don't know where that voice came from. It wasn't like it had a tone of voice. I can't say it was a high pitch or a low pitch, or a certain language. It was just a thought that felt like it was an answer to my question. Because then it was like, okay, well, then yeah, I want to be of service. And doesn't mean that if the older members came, that they wouldn't require the same thing of their students of leaving everything behind. But it doesn't. The older members aren't here right now, and you can even hear T and O talking about that subject on several occasions. Uh, um, that leaving everything behind wasn't uh, for the human kingdom. Human kingdom meaning the individuals that uh, didn't weren't picked and prepped. Now, being picked and prepped does give you something, but that doesn't mean you're going to hold on to it. Because it is special though, and all the vehicles now on Earth are potentially vehicles that can be picked by the next level, and they may already be picked by the returning souls, that the souls that are back here because they've had previous experiences in the human kingdom working at times when older members were either present or right after they were present. And they had a degree of birth and a degree of experience that the next level determined were savable, and so they would be in the next level's keeping on their spacecrafts or in some whatever method they have for storing souls. We wondered the other day whether the oceans could be used for that, for storage of souls or spirits, because souls and spirits are different. Souls are those vehicles that were given a deposit of a chipset that gives that vehicle an opening to get to reach up a little bit more than they did before. They could have overcome a lot of things in the human kingdom and not get that chip deposit if they didn't show some curiosity to the next level in the current information that's been brought by T and Do. Doe talked about that in Doe's final exit. That could even be given to somebody on the spot when they show curiosity in whether this is real or not, And it's not something that can just occur to you except in stages and degrees. And if somebody gets that degree, that doesn't mean that they're going to continue to grow it, right? Like I said before. So it's not a brainwashing. It's by your own will of saying, well, gosh, that makes, wow. is that really true? It's like I'm a little bit, shaken by that. Because I know I experienced that when I came back to the information again. Even though I never left the belief in it, I wasn't reading anything. I wasn't, listening to tapes. I wasn't doing anything for a total of probably about like 7 years, or I don't know what. And I don't mean to say seven, as if it was some kind of prophecy or something, but it might have been about that long. Um, from 1994 to 2001, that would be 7 years. Hmm. That's about right.
So there is a road apparently that buckled up in Cincinnati.
Oh, I'm glad I wasn't going by it. Oh, really? People are just zipping over it?
No, no, that's the slow mo. It's not funny, but it is. Hold on. Here's the fast. Here's what really that like how fast that car was going.
Wow.
Like,
Wow.
and then they slowed it down. And then they slowed it down even more.
He's totally off the ground.
Yeah, watch. Here's the even slower mo. So somebody in the comments was like, "I'm sorry. I know this is serious, but that slow mo just took me out."
Yeah, right.
Imagine, calling into your boss.
So what can they see that I can't see? Oh, okay, I'll give you an example. Um, it's possible that a next level member could be standing right next to somebody, and they know how to change the vibrations, change the frequencies that their vehicles, their flesh, their next level type of flesh, because it's different than human flesh. It's not like muscle. It might be more like plant material sometimes. Who knows what kind of different things they have, materials. But uh, um, so, uh, but those vehicles are like built with a computer chip that allows that dense physical material, more dense physical material, to change its construction a little bit so that uh, a human eyes cannot see something. Now, um, so so I learned this from experience. Uh, that there's more to see. That um, see as both understanding, and see as physically seeing something, and they can even be linked together. That if your mind uh, is open to seeing more of what exists in the physical realms, even if it's plasma like kind of physicality or like smoke like physicality. Because, they say the smoke is like the prayers of saints. I think sometimes, which I think they're saying that mind can be seen. Mind has a physical, because the prayers of saints would be the thoughts of the saints. The thoughts of the saints would be, if they were really saints, would be trying to have, next level thoughts.
Oh, Joseph Coates.
Next level information.
Joseph Coates has a good question. Oh, I'm sorry.
It's okay. But Jesus described um, being born of spirit and he describes spirit as being something that is compared to the wind. And even if you go to the Greek terms for a spirit, you'll see pneuma is one of the primary words used. Pneuma.
Pneuma, like pneumatic?
I don't know, maybe, because maybe that's a force, right? It's like a drill that's
Yeah,
pneumatic
yeah,
is
exactly. That's what I was thinking of.
uses pressure.
In air, right?
Yeah, in
Pressurized air or
air.
something?
Maybe that's where it comes from. But
Anyway.
so breath would be another word that pneuma would be used for to translate it into. And so the breath of the person is the carrier frequency and even physical element of the mind of that individual. And it's shaped into words by the vocal cords, making into construction of sounds that are also frequencies. Um, and that can be captured on tape, right? Those sounds. And then played back through a system to where the unimaginable is imaginable now. That there's some substance, like like even all the frequencies that are going around us all the time
Mm.
are all different kinds of different levels of frequency. So you've got carrier waves, and then you have communication waves that are traveling by those carrier waves. Like, that's the way that cell phone packets, one of the ways that they're transmitted. Because the carrier wave can go much faster, and the other waves aren't as fast, but they can somehow be attached to them. And it's like that technology is from the next level. When they felt like the human kingdom was ready to develop, they started to give humans ideas on how to recognize the reality of what they can't see.
So when the space
Microscopes.
aliens give us the technology that we're not ready for, maybe like nuclear, a different kind of nuclear, like that's when the reset has to happen, where humanity has finally pushed its hand too far, where we have to be reset.
Mm-hmm.
I'm just
No,
thinking
that
out
makes sense.
loud.
That makes sense. That
Because it
the
feels like
next.
there's a common theme, when it's time to start over. Like Atlantis, they seem to be highly advanced. Whoever the Sumerians were, and before the Sumerians, like they had flying machines. There's lots of
Mm-hmm.
evidence to, suggest that they, they had highly sophisticated things. People who built the pyramids, like, but they're all gone. And they were all like wiped out very abruptly. They were reset, they were recycled. So I feel like, and I'm probably wrong about this, because it doesn't really matter ultimately, but it feels like once humanity reaches a line and we cross over it, like we were talking about before, there's choices. Like you can choose to see the signs and act, even though to all intents and purposes it should be impossible. But if you trust and act and fall, then you can achieve things.
You have to take a chance on a positive too, right? You have to. I mean, you can. This can all be abused. All this thinking can be, flipped on its ear, and what you
Yeah.
would see is the facsimiles of thought that the lower forces would put on, interpret things that we're saying and that TNO we're saying in their ways to get people off the track of what the most positive track is on. Because there's no negativity in the next level. They don't have uh, they don't have anybody putting you down putting each other
Right,
down.
we have the choice to follow through or not.
They don't have people killing each other in the next level. They don't. They don't even. That's primitive. That's animalistic behavior. But they allow the human kingdom to exist with those ones that went against them to influence us, so that we can, when it comes to the time of the end of the recycling, which we've been in that for, I don't know if it's been what you would consider the beginning of the end, but certainly the 1900s, would be the last decade, the last century of that end time, which might go to
That's interesting way.
2100 or 21 200. Or,
Right,
we don't
and
know how far it's going to
that's
go.
an interesting way to put it because I've always thought like, it's always like, well, we're not in the end times. It's not the apocalypse and stuff because, um, like if I don't know if World War II wasn't that those people dealing with that sitting in a concentration camp and thinking that is the apocalypse and to all intents and purposes that was their apocalypse.
Mm-hmm.
um it'd be like, okay, if that, as bad as that was, if that wasn't the end times, if that wasn't it, then there's no way in hell this is it, because this isn't as bad as that.
Right.
But to consider that the end times encompasses 100 years, so that is the end. That is the end times. That was the end times. We are in the end times.
Right.
One could.
Right. 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 And you can actually even. I spent far too much time on my book, the parts trying to line up history with the seven trumpets and the seven seals and
Mm-hmm.
the seven angels pouring out their vials, and and other relationships too. But uh, but I had some clues. So, like for instance, to talk on that just a little bit, the sixth trumpet sounding, which is a reverberation. It's a vibrational frequency of thought. To me, it's you're projecting a sound, and those sounds, from the next level's perspective, are going to contain all kinds of information that you're blasting through the atmosphere by being present with those thoughts, because thoughts can travel on their own.
Mm.
They have a certain lifespan.
Yeah.
Anyway, so
Blob and yeah.
right, certain force associated with them that even the lower forces can actually work with and try to generate events like with. But anyway, I won't get into that. But so, according to the few tiny parts of the record books that talked about two individuals coming back and being the candlesticks, being the older members, the ones from the what was called the kingdom of God, kingdom of heavens, but the evolutionary level above human is a more accurate way of talking about it. Um, that happens during the sixth trumpet sounding. So since I believed that T and Do, and to me evidence being those two individuals, even though they didn't talk about it that much at all, and didn't really care if they were those two individuals. Just seemed like that was representing who they were, knew that they were, as coming from the next level. Anyway, so uh, I took that and I extrapolated backwards, and I went to the fifth seal, not seal, the fifth trumpet sounding. And in that trumpet sounding, they actually are saying that somebody that comes from heaven and comes to the earth. and I think they even some indication of crashing to the earth. And so I was thinking, and so I don't want to go through the scripture directly,
Well,
but I thought, wow, that seems to be
I think that.
happening during the 50s,
Will you read Joseph
40s,
Coates?
and 50s.
Will you read Joseph Coates' thing because it goes along with what you're saying? Woohoo! Bugs.
All right, but let me. So
But the first.
yeah, but I just want to finish this one thought before I do go into it yet.
Mhm.
Okay, and so the fifth trumpet sounding seems to line up with the time period in the United States where there were what was depicted as the crash at the plains of San Augustine near Roswell that became known as the Roswell crash or one of the Roswell crashes. Okay, so and the time when the Aztec crash happened in New Mexico as well, which was a year later approximately. I don't know if it was exactly a year. And there were a whole bunch of bodies, like 18 bodies in the Aztec crash, and 4 bodies recorded with the Roswell crash. And so that showed like 22 potential members of the next level that had vehicles while they were on spacecraft being briefed that they were going to be coming back with vehicles and they were going to lose those vehicles. But what humans would consider to be a crash, and then that would free up their soul bodies to go find a vehicle in the human kingdom that was prepared for them to try to take over in the timing of when Tiendo came public to start talking about where they were from in order to start the classroom. Okay, so I'll go over here.
To what Joseph Coates said his first thing.
All right. Greetings, says Joseph. I had a question in my mind. What could Iran's role be in the end times? Sorry, how did you take it when T told you?
That's what that they're separate
it's a different
questions.
one. Okay.
Yeah.
What could Iran's role be in the end times? Well,
That's what I wanted you to talk about.
yeah. Well, Iran was originally Persia, right? Now I'm not a historian.
That's a good thing to look up. I've got all kinds of Bible Atlas stuff. Hold on, I'll be right back.
Okay.
You know I love that.
Well, I think the Persians were part of Iraq was also considered to be Persia,
maps.
and Assyria is another part of. I think was you.
Here, I actually might not even have to go far.
So I mean, you can look it up by those kind of records and see what they say about Iran. But it's also close to the Caucasus Mountains, and it talks about the Gog and Magog may have some relationship to that area, and that might also be linked with the Caspian Sea and the Russians, and of course Turkey, and of course the whole area. There's all kinds of relationships in there. You know, now, so Iran, I mean, I could do a better job with this, but cause I really, all I know is that in 1970 something, when the CIA stimulated a coup d'état, and they put the Shah of Iran into power, and they were very westernized, for better or for worse, and that caused they weren't ready for that, I think, and so they were toppled, and they put in their religious leader, Khomeini, right? I remember when that was happening, and And but that was right after the Iran-Iraq war that the United States supported both sides in different ways. And you'll find out if you look into the details of that. The CIA probably, doing some things with contractors and mercenaries, and uh, and the people in Iraq, working with the connections they made with Osama bin Laden, I guess, but Saddam Hussein, because Rumsfeld was working directly with Saddam Hussein and on the Kuwaiti oil project, you know, and Saddam Hussein was complaining about because Kuwaitis were drilling sideways into his oil fields. It's funny when humans consider that they own anything on the planet.
Persia, yeah, like you
To
said.
the degree that they're going to kill other people for it.
Persia and
That's
Media.
strictly
Yeah.
human behavior. It's not, but it's human behavior influenced by the space aliens. And so you know, the Middle East is the location for the four more physical manifestations of what humans were going to do, trying to fulfill what they didn't know they were enslaved to fulfill by the space alien souls. Because the space alien souls can go to a human and they can whisper something in there literally, give them a thought. And that thought comes with a certain amount of force because it's from a soul that had developed a certain amount of force. So it's very convincing. Seems like the right thing to do. And it doesn't take a whole lot probably for them to be doing that on a regular basis with the ones that become the leaders of the world. So David Icke was right in that context that they become controlled by the space alien souls, those vehicles that are in the leadership roles. Now, that still doesn't mean that they're not doing something that the next level would even approve of. But that the next level might not be ready to subject human kingdom to yet. So they hold them back. They don't allow those space aliens to influence them to that degree of having like a nuclear war, like over the Bay of Pigs invasion.
So there is this article I'm reading, and it says Iran's involvement in the end times will be as one of the nations involved in the battle of Gog and Magog, which probably occurs during the first half of the tribulation. Ezekiel 38:5 specifically mentions Persia as an ally of Magog, Russia.
Hmm.
Other nations included in this coalition will be Sudan, Turkey, Libya, and others. This vast army will come against Israel, who at that time will be a peaceful and unsuspecting people. Ezekiel 38:11. The outcome of this end times invasion is predicted. God supernaturally intervenes, and Gog's coalition is utterly destroyed. On the mountain, quote, on the mountains of Israel you will fall, you and all your troops and the nations with you. I will give you as food to all kinds of carrion birds and to the wild animals. Ezekiel 39 verses 4 through 5. Iran, allied with Russia, will think their invasion of Israel is a sure victory, but God has different plans. In protecting Jerusalem, God will send a strong message to the world. Quote, I will make known my holy name among my people Israel. I will no longer let my
That's
name.
Jesus,
Yeah.
I believe.
I will make my name. I will make known my holy name among my people Israel, which is
Right.
not
The overcomers.
necessarily a place.
Well, yes and no, I think.
I will no longer let my holy name be profaned, and the nations will know that I, the Lord, am the Holy One in Israel. Verse 7. But like you and I had argued, because I was like, Israel is a place. It is a place. And you were like, no, it's a people. It's a people. Now are you going to flip and say it is a place? But maybe it
It's
is a
both.
people.
I believe it's both, baby.
Oh, yeah, you were saying that before.
Yeah, well, I think so. I mean, it's both because that's where the base was before. That's where the focus was for the beginning of that part of the experiment of Moses, right? Because Moses was the return of dough from Enoch and from Adam, okay? So the next level was cultivating that area right from the beginning of the civilization. And so all the people that were so that's where it's the geography, but the real meaning of the word Israel came from Jacob, and that really meant regarding the struggle that Jacob had with the angel, which might have been an evil angel, because I don't think, well, he might have been struggling with God's angels too, because you know,
Because Jacob was a human
right,
struggling with
right, and
some
he wrestled with the
supernatural
angel
being.
and he
Yeah.
overcame that angel, and so he became known as the overcomer. He was named by God in that record book as the overcomer, and for overcoming that battle. And so, and that's what Doe said about the name Israel, that it was the overcomers. So
Right.
those overcomers are souls, and those overcomers keep on being brought back because they don't die when their vehicle dies.
Right.
That when they became an overcomer is because the next level gave them a deposit of their mind, and then they used it enough to grow it enough to where the next level saved it for a future opportunity.
Well, and potentially, like, nobody dies. You either become a discarnate,
Or you go into some other energy form, I
a
guess.
spirit, yeah, which is a,
But
yeah,
you do lose individuality.
yeah, we lose our humanness, but we don't lose our spirit,
Well,
our
uh,
soul.
I believe that can be recycled too.
Well, yeah, but it
But I don't know what
it
that means.
seems like
Remember what you're saying.
I don't know. I guess that'd be like harvesting. But if some soul like is is there an infinite number of souls? I know you asked that question and Dulcet doesn't matter. It doesn't matter.
Right, it doesn't matter, and we don't know what there is. You know how many souls there are made. You know, every time the next level plants deposits of souls.
There's more vehicles than there are.
Yeah. Oh yeah. That's a. I think that's a fact by T and Do's teachings. Yeah, there's a lot more vehicles than souls,
Mm.
but because that's why they talked about that all vehicles don't have souls,
Sorry.
and then Doe even talked about that
I
in
know
Doe's final exit.
I have complications with that still.
Mm-hmm. Well, that's all right. I don't, you know,
I know that.
you're seeking your own
Hmm.
understanding of things, and that's what we're all doing, potentially, if we are.
Did T and Doe
Or we're
talk
not.
about?
Huh?
Did T and Doe talk about Iran at all?
You know, maybe I should. I remember when there was
The Iran Contra affair.
yeah,
We just
he did
listened.
talk about that a little bit.
Yeah, we did. We just listened to that.
Right.
So
But Doe's perspective on that was what all the illegal things the CIA was doing.
yeah, I don't know if he necessarily talked about, but that could be. Maybe we should listen to that again.
And how North was so upfront about being a manipulator, or that his job was to, sell
Right, like
drugs
how
and
open and corrupt it
for
was.
weapons, and then they use those weapons to support the people in the Contras in Nicaragua.
That's insane. We gave them all these weapons and now we're bombing them.
Yeah, yeah, that's what they did. They gave them weapons, and they gave the Iraqis. Well, I don't know who they gave what to, because
Dang.
they didn't they didn't want it to get around that they were supporting both sides.
Right, they got busted.
Yeah, so with Iran and Iraq. But George Bush called them the axis of evil, part of Iran, and they wanted regime change at that time.
Right, now we didn't want regime change, but now maybe we do want regime change.
Yeah, we being the United States, not us in person.
I know, I think regime change in Iran is a good thing.
Well, I think
They seem like they're horrible people. You should not be marrying a 9-year-old,
yeah, right,
girl to,
right. So it may be part of the next
anybody.
level strategy to say,
Or a
okay,
12-year-old or a 14-year-old or...
it may be time for that to happen. That's true. For the next level's perspective, they're letting it happen because even though vehicles are going to go through all kinds of potential suffering, the next level can take any of the souls that are growing that were deposited, whatever level soul they're at, because souls are different ages also, different capacities, and they can save them for a future opportunity because they know they can bring them back when there's a new crop of vehicles growing. And when the new crop of vehicles are growing that are healthy vehicles, our vehicles, I don't. There might not be any vehicles on the planet that are considered by the next level to be growing healthy. They may have all been distorted now by the destruction of the food supply, but maybe not. Maybe some countries have healthy vehicles that the next level can use to build a new civilization with. Anyway, so so that what I was getting at before with the seven trumpets was then I went back to the fourth trumpet sounding, and there seemed to be like on 10-year periods before the sixth one. The sixth one seemed to be like a 40-year period to me, in the ways that I was trying to match it up with events, and so the third one seemed to be lined up with, and the fourth one lined up with World War One and World War Two, like starting in the early 20s, and like the Roaring Twenties. They seem to be before the First World War, weren't they? Wow, that looks good.
No, I believe that war was 19...
Oh, 1919 or something.
18 or something, yeah.
1918. Oh, yeah, that's right.
I mean, I'm
1917.
probably wrong about that, but...
Yeah, so, but I felt like it wasn't like landing exactly on like the 10-year marks of the decades. That there was some kind of like, and it might have even had degrees of it that were overlapping with it. It just wasn't as simple to try to, and I spent a lot of time on that with timelines. I've got all kinds of pages of timelines, in my, pictures and stuff that I drew about it. And I don't think they're worth anything now, but it shows that I did the research anyway. But so I came up with generalizations, and I put it in my book, my generalizations. And I'm not saying that they're accurate, but it doesn't really matter. But it did seem like when Jesus talked about you would see wars and rumors of wars, I thought those were the first two world wars, to me, because the world was Jesus had a worldly perspective, a global perspective, because he was from outside this world. And so I don't know what other events were more major than that, those time periods, pertaining to the world, but also pertaining to the descendants of what took place in the Middle East when Jesus was there. Because Jesus brought the formula of becoming a member of his laboratory. Remember, the people in those days, they didn't really have too much concept of laboratories. So the next level, part of working with mind is having vehicles that are of the same kind of comprehension level. And that's why Jesus had to come with a human vehicle and take it over in order to be able to communicate with people on what makes sense to them. You can't talk about UFOs to a public, people, except to say that my father's house has many mansions. And you can go there if you qualify. You know, this is the way he was talking. He wasn't saying that you would get this automatic going to heaven by dying and believing in some savior and saying that you were born again. Born again meant that you were going to come back with your soul deposit mind in a container that is a plasma kind of container that's got density to it, that's got power to it, force to it, that is greater than a human mind. Because a human mind is just from one lifetime, even though it's the carryover from multiple lifetimes, and there's growth in that carryover, through the genes and through the environmental mind of experiences, through what the parent did you give a vehicle, and whether they're getting it in the genes that way, right? But then also from living with one or more parents or foster parents or.
I guess Donald Trump just announced a ceasefire between Israel and Iran.
Oh, really?
Mm-hmm.
That would be good.
According to
We'll see if it holds.
his social media,
We'll see
he
if
posted congratulations to everyone.
But if it's going to be like the Ukraine one, then they're going to still keep on shooting missiles at each other.
It has been fully agreed by and between Israel and Iran that there will be a complete and total ceasefire in approximately 6 hours from now, when Israel and Iran have wound down and completed their in-progress final missions. So, yes, they're going to still keep bombing each other.
Finish their missions.
For 12 hours, at which point the war will be considered ended. Officially, Iran will start the ceasefire, and upon the 12th hour, Israel will start the ceasefire. And upon the 24th hour, an official end to the 12th day war will be saluted by the world. During each ceasefire, the other side will remain peaceful and respectful on the assumption that everything works as it should, which it will. I would like to congratulate both countries, Israel and Iran, on having the stamina, courage, and intelligence to end what should be called the 12-day war. This is a war that could have gone on for years and destroyed the entire Middle East, but it didn't and never will. God bless Israel, God bless Iran, God bless the Middle East, God bless the United States of America, and God bless the world. Donald J. Trump, President of the United States of America. Sounds like a diversion.
Yeah, one of the
So
thoughts.
what's he going to say about that attack on the base?
I don't know.
We're okay with that?
I guess so. Well, we'll see what happens. You hear one thing and then you don't know. But it doesn't matter to me and what I've been talking about with the war and stuff, because there's still a war for souls going on. If they're not killing each other, I don't have any problem with that. That'd be great, actually, to me,
Yeah,
in my opinion, because then everybody might have a chance to actually get along, because people are supposed to get along with each other.
Get out.
But but people aren't supposed to be happy with their, well, but then, each grade in school is going to have degrees of separation from their humanness. And so I can't judge that circumstance. But the next level will do that when they're ready to. And maybe it's not going to end that way. Maybe it's going to come by the next level instigating, events that then it will get blamed on humans, Uh, the seas roaring, and saying that humans are causing the seas to roar, worse, and they're doing the hurricanes, and they're doing the volcanoes, and they're doing the, to where there won't be any sense of the reality of the next level being involved in this planet. Even if they're talking that they believe in God, they can also lose sight completely of the reality of that kingdom, and then they could condemn anybody that doesn't believe the way they believe, which you see happening, you know, between the three different pillars of the religions that came about as a result of uh, the next level's instigation. That's how powerful the next level is. That these religions form and then become the opposite of what the religion was initially teaching. It's obvious that they become the opposite of that. And yet they say talk like peace, you know. And so it's like in that Revelation 13. I'm going to go to that because I put it on my screen, where it says,
What? That can't be true.
the other beast that comes up. I don't know. I'm not finding what I was thinking about, so I'm just going to skip that. Uh, Joseph Coates says, so how did you take it when T told you you are a little too sarcastic when speaking with humans? Did you recognize areas where you could work on that? Yeah, just so you know, the way that T told me that was the way she told, I think, all the students something in a little note, like a 3 by 5 piece of paper with little writing on it. Okay, so she didn't tell me that in person, and she didn't. She said, and all she said was sarcastic with humans. The little two part, because there's no right kind of sarcasm, I don't think, in terms of the next level. They don't do the. I don't know. I mean, I'm not saying that one of them might not have said something that could be taken as sarcastic at times, but so I'm not going to put a measurement on it. But it wasn't next level behavior that the students were um, trying to overcome. But anyway, so uh, she said I was a little too pleased with myself. And she said, I like to be seen as something special in that note and sarcastic with humans. And how that came about was, in my opinion, was that I was working in kitchens at the time, mostly at that time. And, and sometimes I was like the second cook, to the one that was running the line in the restaurant, producing all the dinner orders. I was doing the garnishing and the sandwiches and the hamburgers and the things that didn't take as much culinary skill. And the chef, the guy that was uh, not the chef actually, but the line cook that was the first cook, maybe you say third cook. I'm not sure what order you put it in. They rate him. They talk about him like the Navy, uh, with Navy terminology in the cooking world, I believe sometimes. But anyway, so he would get so pissed off, and 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 he'd be yelling at the waiters and waitresses, and whether the food was up on the window too long, and he might have been right sometimes. I'm not saying that he was all wrong about trying to, get them the food fast and all that. But if they would complain about anything, like if the steak wasn't cooked right, he'd be pissed off, you know. And so he'd be yelling and cursing at them and stuff. And I was this little goody two shoes guy, right? And we didn't do any cursing or anything. So a few times I think I said, you don't have to be so vulgar about it. Something like that. And he was mad at me when I said that. And that was, and so that was an example of one of the things. And there were other examples in another kitchen where I worked. So that's where that was coming from, I believe. Because that's the only exposure I had to humans anyway. Humans being individuals that weren't in the class that was attempting to graduate. Even though we had human vehicles, but we were trying to overcome our human characteristics, according to Tiando's teachings. That's where they were coming from on that. Choo-choo. I'll be shocked if it holds, Deadskin says, talking about what you read. I give it a few days tops. Yeah, I know, it's hard to tell, right?
Yeah, it depends on if Iran is, really close to depleting their supply of missiles.
Right. Might have to do with that, and
or maybe it's just a hold off until they get more.
Right. Maybe that
Kind
too.
of like what's happened with Ukraine when there was a ceasefire, and with Israel against Gaza, there was a ceasefire, and it was like they were just regrouping to come back and hit them even harder.
Yeah. Yeah, it's hard to know because we're not in control, and even the humans aren't in control entirely. So, I can see it going in a number of ways. I don't know, because, well, I mean, I can play it out anyway. It doesn't change. Whether it's going to become a nuclear war, all-out nuclear war or not. I don't know if that's the way that the next level wants that to happen. Maybe, maybe it's too hard to clean out a lot of radioactivity from the environment in the time frame that they might want to start a new civilization. I don't know, but they say they have like millions of years half-life kind of things, right? So I don't know if they want to fill the atmosphere with all those particles, that come from the nuclear blasts. Especially if humans can still, have some pockets of humans that are growing healthy. So But yeah, I can hear you that see the thing that happens when the next level allows the humans to do what they want to do. But yeah, yeah, I don't know. You have to, but I'm not saying I understand all this. I don't. But some of the thoughts about it are related to the next level wanting to give people a chance to grow closer to their mind, okay, in the way that they think about it. Okay, so, um, uh, but maybe they've had enough time. We don't know when that's going to be. According to Junodi's document, away team, they don't know the end of that. Um, but uh, but from the space alien perspective, if they're giving, if they've got the ear of all these different leaders of these countries, it could be exactly what Kathy was just expressing, and what Dead Skin Mask was expressing, that you know they might be pausing so that they can regroup their forces and stuff like that. Okay, so but a thought that I had about it also was that um, as long as the humans are developing um, spacecrafts for that the space aliens feel like they can use to get off this planet, they might not want a whole bunch of money going towards fighting wars. If they can take that same money and direct it into being able to make an environment on the moon or Mars, where people could go to escape the planet, which the United States is already committed to doing that, and China's been committed to doing that. During the Bush years, they were saying that they were going to do that. And so, if they think that the planet is in danger of ending because of climate or because of wars or because of, they basically all want to live. All the humans want to live. Uh, they have that much awareness. Um, so, but lower forces also, that's one of the things that they get from the budgets get passed to have more money go to the wars, right? And so that's still an avenue that can be that can go towards generating development of spacecrafts and looking for the elements that can give them anti-gravity, like on dwarf planet Ceres maybe, and maybe other places. I don't know. That's some of the. So it can go either way, and I think the space aliens are, they want to have the control. At the same time, the next level wants people to see more of the reality, I think, of the space aliens, or maybe not. Maybe they've already known that enough was given to humans to try to understand the space aliens as a reality. I know when I talk about space aliens, like I could be going along in a post talking about wars, and I just did my last Facebook post, and then making sense to maybe some people more, and that all these different wars were happening for these reasons, and they were stimulated by the governments in order to have a justification to go to war, and get the minerals and get the oil and get the geographic locations, and also to have money for their budgets for their military to increase. And I could go through all that, and then all of a sudden I say, because the space aliens want to do this or that, and I feel like I lose most of my audience. whatever potential audience I have. But then again, a lot of people that even read what I post, which there aren't that many, I don't think, that do, they're used to me. So, but that's, that's what I'm trying to offer. Some perspectives that T and O gave me. And I actually, through my experience, made my own. It's like when you know that your dad is the head of the corporation, and so that you can trust in what your dad, a good dad, a good mom, doesn't, it's not gender related, but because the next level is both to souls. They're the parents of souls. That's all that was trying to help the humans understand, I believe. I mean, there might have been more to it that I don't understand because I can't claim to have absolute knowledge of all the different variances and thought that that is accomplished by what the next level does in when they use certain words to describe their older members, like the word father was used, right?
Mhm.
I'm getting kind of tired.
7:30
Yeah.
and we got a trip tomorrow.
Yes, we have a trip. Yeah, because I guess I'll say one more thing about this end times for this point. This point is that it seems like we haven't had the experiences that were talked about in what's talked about in Revelation 6:12 as and he says when he had opened the sixth seal, and lo, there was a great earthquake. The sun became black as sackcloth of hair, and the moon became as blood, and the stars of heaven fell to the earth, even as a fig tree casteth, casteth, casts her untimely figs when she is shaken of a mighty wind. And the heaven departed as a scroll when it is rolled together, and every mountain and island were moved out of their places. And the kings of the earth, see, humans are still alive at this time. All these things are happening, and you could say that all these things already have been happening, and yes, you can find that because everything is in degrees and different periods of time, and to where it all kind of works. But it also can work specifically for certain periods of time more than others. And the kings of the earth, and the great men, and the rich men, and the chief captains, and the mighty men, and this word men is talking about Homo sapiens, and every bondman and every free man hid themselves in the dens and the rocks of the mountains, which is the underground cities, the underground bases, the underground hideaways. You know, uh, so that's happening in Israel as we speak. That's happening other places as well, where they're preparing their underground facilities, these underground nuclear facilities. They said that they were moving the fissionable material or that weapons grade material that they were developing. They moved it uh, away from where they thought the United States was going to bomb. So they may be just wanting to retool their machinery so they can keep on developing it. And but the next level may be by saying that we don't want it to go that far too fast. you know, and so uh, because other things have to happen. Because then it says that, and it says to them, the mountain, it says, it said to the mountains and rocks, fall on us. This is talking about all those people on the earth. They want to lose their vehicles because they're in such agony with their minds, I guess. Or they just want to become martyrs or something. Maybe another way to look at that. Uh, or just I don't know. Um, I mean, things could happen to where, health wise, people don't want to be in their vehicles anymore. Like Doe said, that one of the only things we might recognize in this end time as would be people dying in droves. People dying in droves. But they're saying here that they want to hide us from the face of him that sits on the throne, from the wrath of the Lamb. So uh, the face of the one sitting on the throne is Doe. And by this interpretation, because in Revelation 12, he's the male child of the woman, T's vehicle, depicted in the incarnation she took on purpose to fulfill this prophecy. They fulfilled the prophecies because they put this outline together. They know what they're going to end up doing in a lot of cases. Okay? And so that male in Revelation 12 was being birthed to the throne. So the throne was initially what T was sitting on, and you can see that depicted in the revealings as well. The revelation, the apocalypse really means the revealing of the truth. And even talks about it in Luke that when the Son of Man is revealed, all these things were going to happen. Now the Son of Man was revealed. Because who is the Son of Man? That was the way that Jesus described himself, which was also consistent with Enoch and I think Ezekiel and Adam. All had some relationship with that terminology of Son of Man, because that word really means offspring human. Son is like an offspring, and man is a Homo sapien. So he's the product of the Homo sapiens. And son has two aspects to it. One related to the humanness of the family, the human family, that is that provide the vehicles for the new sons to be born into membership in the next level. But it says at the end of all that, while that's all happening, who shall stand at that point? Who's going to hide from the face of him that sits on the throne? Because it seems to me that it's possible that the next level is going to show themselves in some way different than the way they have so far. And Doe was talking about that. He felt like he was coming back with his armada to finish. And the Christians are saying that, and they're thinking about that, and they're thinking that's the first time he comes. When it's the judgment time that he comes. When the judgment time is over, is when about over. To put specific dates on these things and time periods as if they all happen like in a twinkling in the eye. That's a human way of looking at it, through a lens that doesn't understand the reality of the next level in that way. Because a lot of times there's time periods, but that doesn't mean that the next level can't choose a certain day in a 24-hour period to do something specifically. And there's even indications of that maybe happening. Because when they put something into motion, then it's happening, and to the degree that gets put into motion is always going to be, well, I shouldn't say always, but seems to have a variable. So with that said, I'm going to just check the chat room. Joseph says, you guys should get some rest. I joined the stream late, so I'll have to listen it later. Okay, cool, Joseph. That's great. We're going to get some rest. And you're welcome. I'm glad to try to answer your comments. Good night, folks.